Welcome to Flash Video Basics Part 7. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a custom right-click context menu for your player. So if you right-click on it, you can see these are all custom commands and labels that I've put in. I have a pause and I have a little copyright symbol down here, and I'll show you how to put anything you want into this context menu. So let's go to Flash, and the last time we created this buffering movie clip, and now I'll show you how to create this context menu. This can all be through ActionScript. So highlight that first keyframe in the Actions layer, open the Actions panel. Okay, so now I'm going to come down under that last bit of code that we wrote, and the first thing I want to do is create an instance of the context menu class. So I'm going to say var, I'm going to call it the menu, and strict data type it to context menu equals new context menu. Okay, so now I have an instance of the context menu class. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to remove as much as I can all of the default items that Flash puts in there. You can't get rid of them all, like the settings, debugger, and about Flash Player, but you can get rid of almost all of them by calling the hide built-in items method. So the menu.hide built-in items will get rid of all of those default items except for a couple. Okay, so now I have this menu, but I need to assign it to my Flash movie. I'm going to assign it to the root timeline. So I'm going to say underscore root, and actually no, I want to say underscore root dot menu is equal to the menu. So I'm replacing the default menu on the root timeline with this new menu I've just created. And now if I go out and test the movie now, let me go ahead and test this. And now when I right click on this, you see it's removed all except those two items, and you can't get rid of those two items. And also when you're viewing them outside of Flash, there'll be an About Flash Player one also, but we've gotten rid of almost all of them. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is to create a context menu item. Now that is an item that will actually appear in our context menu. So I'm going to call it I1, strict data type it to context menu item equals new context menu item. And the first thing we need to send to this constructor is the caption or the label that we want to be displayed in the context menu. So I'm just going to call it video controls. I'm just going to add some colons just so it looks like a label header. And this just expects a simple string. So I'm going to close that. And the next parameter it expects is what function I want to be called once this has been clicked. But since this is just a label, I don't really want it to be called anything in my real project. So if I put the trace function in here, which is used only inside the Flash development environment, then once it gets out to the real world, it won't do anything when this is selected. Okay, so now I have this context menu item. Now I need to add it to that context menu that I created up here. And to add it, I need to add it to the custom items array of the context menu. So I say the menu dot custom items. Now this is just an array, so I want to assign this to the first element in the array. So I say bracket 0 is equal to I1. So now that context menu item has been added into that context menu that I created. Okay, so if we go out and test the movie now, okay, if I right click anywhere on the video player, you see it says that video controls label. If I click on it and grab the output panel, you can see it's just putting level 0 in here, which is what happens when you call the trace function with no parameters. So again, once this is out in the real world, the user won't see anything when that's clicked. Okay, so let's go back, and I want to add 3 more items, and I'm just going to copy and paste this block 3 times just to save time. And I'm going to have to change all the variable names. So I'm going to say I2, I3, and I4. I need to change it over here too to I3 and I2. Now we also have to change these element numbers here to 1, 2, and 3. So now we have these 4 context menu items, and all I have to do is go and change the label and function calls for these other 3. So the second one, I want it to be a play pause video command. So I'm going to say play/pause video. And now for the function, I'm going to write a function in a minute called pause it that will be called once this play pause video context menu item is clicked. So there's a third optional parameter that you can send to the constructor of this, and that determines whether there's a separator bar above this item. So if I say comma true, there'll now be a separator bar in the context menu between this play pause video and the video controls label above it. And if you don't pass that value, it assumes it's false. Okay, so this third one, I want to be a replay video command. So I'm going to say replay video, and the function I'm going to write in a minute is just called replay it. And this will act to just send the video back to the beginning and start again. Okay, so this last context menu item, I just want it to be a copyright label. So I'm just going to say copyright 2005 Lee Brimlow. Okay, and again, this is just going to be a label, so I'm just going to have it called the trace function, which won't do anything once it's out in a browser or in a projector. Okay, and above this, I want there to be a separator bar, just to separate out those 2 video controls. Okay, so here it is, and basically I have my context menu set up now. If I test the movie and right click, you'll notice the video controls label is there and the copyright label is there, but those 2 video control commands didn't go, is because I haven't defined those functions yet. So any functions that you put in these context menu items, if they're not defined or defined incorrectly, they won't show up. So let me create those functions. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say function pause it, and this will just be a simple one-line function that's just going to call the ns.pause method, which just toggles play and pause. Close that, and that's that function done. Now the next function I have to create is this replay it function. So I'm going to come down here, say function replay it, and here again it's a simple one-liner. Just calling the seek method ns.seek, and I want to go 0 seconds in, which will bring me back to the beginning. So close that up. Okay, so I've defined these 2 functions. Now these context menu items will appear. Okay, so let's just recap. Let me get to the beginning of our code. Okay, we created that new context menu instance. We hid all of the default items that Flash puts in there, assigned it to the root timeline, created our 4 context menu items, the first being a label, this a play, pause, replay video, and a copyright, and then just define these 2 simple functions. So let's test the movie. Now if I right click anywhere on the player, I see I have my 4 custom items. I have the video controls label, which doesn't do anything. I click the play pause label, it pauses the video, and when I click it again, it toggles it back and starts playing it. If I hit the replay video, it brings it back to the beginning and starts the video again. And if I click on that copyright, it doesn't do anything because it's just a label again. So this is just a great way to customize your video player, and you can put any commands you want in here. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and next time we'll be adding even more functionality to the player.